Donald Trump received a hero's welcome at the Republican National Convention last night. He sat in the crowd with a bandage covering the spot where a sniper's bullet grazed his ear. How could the attempted assassination on the former president play out amongst voters and in the polls? Well, pollster and communication strategist Frank Luntz has been studying that issue, and he joins me now from the Republican Convention in Milwaukee. Frank Luntz, it's good to speak with you.
Speak with you. Thank you.
We're all trying to figure out the impact this is going to have on voters, and I'm reading an op-ed that you wrote that says the attempted assassination of Donald Trump is symbolic of a democracy at its breaking point. Those are strong words. What do you mean by that?
We are so angry. We're so frustrated. We don't trust each other. We don't respect each other. We've lost the civility that is traditional in American politics. You all don't have that in Canada. We have a problem here in America, and I'm hoping it doesn't cross the border. And my fear is that rather than fighting with each other, that we will literally dehumanize each other, and so violence and contempt will become commonplace rather than random.
We saw a lot of that in the hours after what happened in Pennsylvania, right? With some Republicans blaming the Democrats for causing this, and then some Democrats implying it was a staged hoax and he wasn't actually really shot. I mean, when something like that gets that kind of a reaction, it speaks to the challenges you're worried about.
Well, it's good that both President Biden and President Trump drew that down, challenged those people, and it's not happening now. And in fact, the convention yesterday was more of a celebration than any convention I've ever been to. And I started to attend these in 1988. I'm old. The key in all of this is how you behave when people are watching. And I noticed yesterday, last night at the convention, you had people you'd never see at a Republican convention. African Americans, working women, union members, the type of people who are on the stage and in this audience. It's a different kind of people, and I'm hoping that both the Republicans on Thursday at Trump's speech and the Democrats next month in Chicago will keep that in mind and be very careful of the words that they choose.
It's interesting when you look at what happened with the debate as an inflection point. You look at the attempted assassination of Donald Trump as an inflection point. A lot of people in the wake of what happened on Saturday said this is going to energize things, turn Trump into a hero, and maybe lead to a landslide. But your data suggests that that's just not possible because only a really tiny sliver of the electorate is even open to changing its mind. What have you found there?
You're correct. In our polling, it's 4% of Americans, and there are only 3 states, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, that are up for grabs. When you only have 4%, it's the reason why Trump being found guilty of 34 counts did not move the needle. That Joe Biden did one of the worst debate performances in the history of modern American politics, did not move the needle. I don't believe you're going to see any significant shift because of either this convention or because of Trump being shot. What I do believe it's going to change the turnout equation. It's about intensity. You have a high voter turnout in Canada. We don't. And I think that every Trump supporter will become a Trump voter in November. That's not the case for the Biden campaign.
Right. So, and there is a motivation challenge, certainly on the Democrat side, given the divisions that are on display there over what the current president should do. But you mentioned Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan. J.D. Vance is a pick to carry on the MAGA legacy, but he's also an Ohio senator, so that similar part of the country. Does he give the Republicans a lift there in those 3 key states that seem to be where all the marbles are going to be?
So the truth is, the vice president does more damage than good, except for their home state. And Ohio is already guaranteed to vote Republican. It could impact the Senate race there. Bernie Moreno, the Republican, will probably get a bounce from his colleague becoming the vice presidential nominee. But what this does, it communicates to every voter that this working class, blue collar, paycheck to paycheck voter matters. It communicates that Trump is all in on this messaging. I think it was, in the end, I think it's going to prove to be a good choice, but we won't know that until J.D. Vance debates the current vice president. That's where the impact comes in.
Okay, Frank, we've got about 60 seconds left. I mean, do you think, what are your thoughts on where Joe Biden is, and what are your thoughts on where Joe Biden will be once we get to the Democratic Convention next month?
Well, if the Trump voters are energized, the Biden voters are demoralized. And I think that they're going to need one hell of a convention to bring people back. And you've noticed that the conversations about having Biden leave the ticket have stopped because of all that's happened. So these are the two people that are going to run. But in Biden's case, he needs to talk about the future, not the past. He needs to talk about his own vision, not criticizing Trump. In the end, Biden's got to make the case for himself rather than the case against Donald Trump. And that's not what he's done in the last few months.
So just quickly, is it about persuasion for Biden, or is it just motivation to get people to believe in him and show up? What's more important for him right now?
And that's a great question, and I'm not ducking it when I say for Joe Biden it's both. Donald Trump does not need to persuade, he needs to turn out. Joe Biden has to persuade and has to energize, and I don't know if that's possible in these 110 days between now and the election.
Right. Okay, especially as the conversation continues inside the Democratic Party. Frank Luntz, thank you for hustling to get to us before the end of the show. I wish we had more time. We'll love to have you back, but thank you for joining us from Milwaukee. Thank you, sir.